Coming up on Cedar Valley today, the latest on the recent flood conditions around the Cedar Valley. The U.S. and Cuba are making huge strides in mending their relationship, and the presidential candidates return to the campaign trail after Monday's debate. This is Cedar Valley Today. Good morning and welcome to Cedar Valley Today. I'm Kaylin. Many people across eastern Iowa are still feeling the effects of last week's flooding of the Cedar River. We'll start off this morning by giving some updates on flood conditions around the Cedar Valley. According to Waverly City officials, the Cedar River crested over the weekend at 13.17 feet. The city finally gave the okay for people in the southeast part of Waverly to return to their homes on Monday morning. This was after the flooding caused dozens of homeowners to evacuate when the city shut off their house power and gas. One couple who lives in the southeast part of Waverly says they've learned a lot from their flooding experiences. Meanwhile, the city is still searching for answers. The people who live in this house call themselves survivors. Before last Thursday, Norman and Sue Muchler had been through 3 floods in their southeastern Waverly home and didn't think they'd ever see a fourth.
And we were in denial because we just kind of thought, well, that can't happen again, you know. It's happened to us. We've had it already. Forget it. Give it to somebody else. But it did.
The past shows just how vulnerable that southeastern part of Waverly is. City Administrator James Browner says the city started researching solutions after the major flood in 2008.
There was a study done in 2011, a feasibility study to look at what would it take to try to flood-proof that area, and the cost is staggering. Some of it's just because of the way it's located and how it sits in the base of the river, what the floor is.
Browner says the city has made efforts to relieve some of the flooding.
The inflatable dam has been installed, the dry run creek is put in. I know that benefits more the north and the west part of the city, but it's because it could. Not everything can work that's recommended, and everything does have a cost.
The city council will be discussing the recent flooding at next week's meeting and will continue the discussion of what to do regarding the southeast region. As for Muchler, if the flood has taught her one thing, it's to be patient.
To learn to play the waiting game. A flood teaches you patience because you have to wait and see what's going to happen next.
The Muchlers are thankful that last night was their last night staying in a hotel, and they will be returning home this morning. Now in Cedar Falls, flood cleanup efforts remain a focus. The city advises anyone who is not a resident of North Cedar Falls to stay away from the area. Inspectors are meeting with residents to complete those safety inspections. Donations for those affected being affected by the flooding are being accepted at Living Water Church at 1210 Lone Tree Road. However, clothing is not needed at this time. Many roads have reopened, but some still remain closed. For a list of those roads and more flood updates, you can go to cedarfalls.com. Now, Waterloo is taking the next steps as the Cedar River is starting to recede. All bridges and roads except the Downtown Railroad Bridge and Park Avenue Bridge are now open. Waterloo had a 3-day notice of the flood and were able to set up storm gates as prevention to the flooding. As of now, it's unknown how many people have been impacted. The city is looking to strengthen their prevention methods for future floods.
Our lift stations, through FEMA and federal and state monies, we were able to fix some of those lift stations. We were able to make some improvements to our levee. We were able to have a chain of communication that I had with staff that had experience about what happened the last time.
Anyone affected in the Cedar Falls or Waterloo area can pick up cleaning kits at Fire Station Number 1 in Waterloo. Flood-damaged items can be dropped off at the National Cattle Congress at 257 Ansbro Avenue in Waterloo, and clean sandbags that haven't been used can be dropped off at 1314 Blackhawk Street in the fenced-in area. All other sandbags will need to be disposed of at the Blackhawk County landfill or can be left out on the curb. The pickup schedule for curbside bags will be announced at a later time. Both cities will continue to monitor and provide updates as more information becomes available. And after the break, the relationship between the U.S. and Cuba is on the mend, and presidential candidates react to Monday's debate. We'll be back after the over 50 years. Jeffrey De Laurentiis was named to the position on Tuesday. De Laurentiis played a big part in reopening the U.S. Embassy in Cuba, and he helped reestablish ties between the Cuban and American governments. Some people are skeptical about having an ambassador to Cuba and accuse the Castro regime of continued human rights violations. But despite the criticism, the president says there's no better candidate for the job. And now that the first presidential debate is done, both candidates have been quick to get back on the campaign trail. Former President Bill Clinton took to the campaign trail yesterday as well, holding a rally for his wife in Cleveland, Ohio. He also talked to the crowd about the debate, saying that he was proud of his wife's performance.
Yeah, she won that debate. And people saw who was ready to be president, who knew more about the issues, who felt more strongly about it, and who was in it for you. Instead of personal insults, she ran it on issues, and I was tickled to death.
Meanwhile, Republican nominee Donald Trump held his first rally since Monday's debate in Melbourne, Florida. He told supporters that he won the debate, despite a majority of critics and voters saying otherwise. And Trump also said that he really wasn't revving at full throttle on Monday night.
For 90 minutes, I watched her very carefully, and I was also holding back. I didn't want to do anything to embarrass her, but I watched her, and she was stuck in the past.
Coming up, we'll take a look at social media stories from around the Cedar Valley. Stay with us. Here's what's trending in the Cedar Valley. Waverly Chamber of Commerce and Waverly Area Education Roundtable have teamed up to host another Learn Over Lunch workshop. The workshop will focus on helping businesses implement apprenticeship programs. It's scheduled for tomorrow and goes from 11:30 a.m. to 1 p.m. at the Cobblestone Suite. The registration cost is $10 for chamber members and $20 for non-chamber members. You can RSVP by emailing waverly@waverlychamber.com or by calling 319-352-4566. The Cedar Valley JCs are asking for volunteers to help the Northeast Iowa Food Bank's backpack program. The program fills backpacks with non-perishable nutritious food to give to chronically hungry children in area counties. The JC's volunteer shift will go from 4:30 to 6:30 tomorrow night. And a brand new hotel is opening its doors in Cedar Falls. Best Western Plus is holding a grand opening tomorrow from 4 to 6 p.m. The hotel is located at the corner of Hudson Road, Technology Parkway, and Cedar Falls. And at that grand opening, door prizes and complimentary refreshments will be available to anyone in attendance. We'll be back after the break.
Every time I hear the alarm bell go off in school, I think it's an air raid.
A lot of houses in our neighborhood have been destroyed. I like to close my ears and sing songs whenever the bombs come close.
I'm worried our new neighbors won't like us.
But I know it's all gonna be worth it. I just want my family to be safe. But these are not my words.
These are not my words.
These are not my words.
Start a story. Adopt at theshelterpetproject.org.
As Lynn is propping up her book, I will introduce the interview today. Cedar Valley Today is continuing at the Wellness Wednesday segment from last year, where we discuss physical, social, and professional wellness topics. Now joining us is Luann Alameo, educator and speaker. Welcome. Thanks for joining us this morning.
Oh, it's great to be here again, Kaylin.
Awesome. Well, so as your books kind of show, we're going to be talking about small talk and making conversation with people you may not really know that well. And so I guess to start off, where do you start with that?
Well, let's back up a little bit.
Okay.
It's the number one fear. What do you think is the number one fear or phobia of people? Most people think it's death or dying. Mm-hmm. It's actually having conversation with somebody that they do not know. First, it's going into a situation where they don't know anybody, and then next is having a conversation with somebody that they do not know. That's people's number one social phobia.
Huh.
So anyway, that's kind of interesting. So
Yeah.
Where do you start? And I always say you need to be approachable, and so that approachable person is going to make eye contact with someone who has their eyes down, looking at their phone or texting is saying the message that I don't want to engage. I don't want to engage with people. So we need to be approachable if we're going to start those small talk conversations. And those small talk conversations actually lead to the bigger conversations, which could maybe lead to a job, lead to an internship, lead to a possible friendship, a partnership, those kinds of things. So small talk conversation really is vitally important. And so when you walk into that room, I always tell people that they need to have the what, when, where, how, why, and tell questions ready.
Makes sense. And so I guess what are some of those topics that people kind of bring up for small talk? I mean, I know probably not smart to bring up politics when you first meet someone, but I guess what is some kind of appropriate topic to discuss?
Well, as a journalism major, I think, don't they tell you that you need to have the who, what, when, where, why, and tell when you're relating a story? Uh-huh. So one of the first questions when you go to an event would be, why are you here? Why did you come? And so that begins a conversation. Or is there anyone that you know here? And that's usually a yes or no answer. And so then you need to elaborate from there, because that doesn't really take you anywhere. But one thing I want to stress, Kaylin, is that only 35% of our conversation and the interpretation and meaning comes from text. 65% comes from the nonverbal communication, looking at the person, their mannerisms, their nonverbal. And we've gotten all that information with all the politics going on right now in the debate, that so much communication comes from the nonverbal, and when we're constantly using our phone as that only medium, we're missing out on the majority of our conversation. So that's why the small talk is so vitally important.
Like when meeting new people, and also kind of when continue those conversations with people we know. But I want to thank you for being with us this morning.
Oh, you're so welcome.
To talk small talk, and we'll be back